Hey guys, Ryu here with another video for Blender. This one's gonna be a promo for the new trim sheet pack that is coming today or tomorrow, I think. And there are gonna be two trim sheets. One of gonna be trim sheet 8 and trim sheet 9, and these are complementary trim sheets for the pack that's been released with a course. So the A to Z trim sheet, creating environments with trim sheets. Now we're gonna be adding trim sheet 7 and the videos to this pack. So if someone didn't get it in time, they were gonna have, they're gonna have a chance to do it now. Plus the two additional trim sheets. So even if you have the bonus pack, it's still it's still advisable you grab this pack, because these two trim sheets are kind of special, and let me explain you why. So trim sheet 8 and trim sheet 9 were created to tackle a specific task, which is basically paneling difficult areas like this. Normally when you have trim sheets, you want to have quad flow and sort of lines of quads, preferably running around a certain area or looping, etc. Like in here, this would be very easy to trim, because all you do is select these these lines of quads, well, except maybe for these ones, and you simply run a trim sheet on it. Now areas like this, for example here, they're a bit more problematic, because you got tiny triangles, angles and whatnot here, right? So it's a bit more difficult, and this is why we created this new pack. So let me show you how it works. I'm gonna grab this bit here, and most of this video is gonna be time-lapse, by the way, because it's gonna be repeating. I'm gonna be basically repeating things that I've already done, but I'm gonna show you basically how this all works. Yeah, so let's select these two edges and go to mesh machine and select. So it's gonna select all these sharp edges, and I'm gonna go to mark seam, and then what we need to do is think how we're gonna divide this hull into pieces. Now they cannot be too large, because if they're too large, the trim sheet will not fit. It's gonna be incorporating bits of a trim that lay outside the trim, and I know it sounds complicated, but I'm gonna show you on this very simple example. I'm gonna grab this bit here, okay, and I'm going to mark seam and press L. And by the way, I mark seam because I want to very easily be able to select patches of geo. So when you hover your mouse over a geo and press L, you'll see that in the face mode, you'll see that it will select everything within the seams, which is a great way of selecting stuff in Blender. So, here, if I press D and go to trim sheet 9, and I'm going to use, by the way, the untextured version. I got 2. So you get, in terms of trim sheets, you get 4 in total, plus the trim sheet 7. So you're getting trim sheet 8 and 9, but 2 versions, so untextured and textured. So you got 4 new ones, and trim sheet 7 textured and untextured. So in total 6, but you also get all the maps like ID maps, etc. So you can actually go ahead in Substance Painter or Quixel Mixer and create your own trim sheets if you want to. But let me show you the untextured one first. Okay, so I'm going to alt click on this bit here, and you will see that this will add a bit of a paneling effect here, which is great. Now these panels are a little bit too big in my opinion. Okay, they're just kind of huge, but we can make them smaller by simply making this area slightly smaller. So we're going to remove this, right, and we're going to introduce a seam, let's say somewhere here, right? So mark seam and press L here, okay, and the smaller area you're going to select, the smaller the textile density is going to be, meaning the more detailed the panel is going to be, you see. So, well, I just have to click it with Alt, sorry, my bad. So D and click with Alt, hold Alt and click. So it's going to add trim sheet only to this bit. And you see now you got this paneling effect going on in here, and kind of a seamless transition here. I mean, you can still move this, or you could, for example, what you could do is split this, right, if you wanted to, and add some kind of element from, let's say, trim sheet 8 that will kind of merge these two bits together. Okay, so see, like a basically a cut, if you will, and then we're gonna add a mark seam here, and we're gonna mark seam here. Unfortunately, mesh machine removes, decal machine removes mark seams from areas that were marked. So when you, for some weird reason, I don't know why it's doing it, I think it's a bug, but not mark sharp, mark seam, this one. You know, this should be looked into because it's just irritating. But anyway, press D here and go to trim sheet 9 and then click and boom. And you can repeat the same thing here if you want to. So you can, you know, go to trim sheet 8 and simply click on this line, and you can see that, you know, this creates really cool paneling on the ship, right? And I could continue this way across the whole ship and basically you create a really cool, you know, paneling. Now make sure that you're going to maintain this you know, size of these panels more or less the same, so you're not gonna go too crazy in terms of size. I think here would be good. So mark seam, you need to mark seam this one as well, unfortunately, so we're gonna have to mark this one and mark this edge all the way around here and mark seam, and then L. Yeah, I don't know why a machine, decal machine removes these seams. It's really irritating, but you know, what can you do? Nothing's perfect. Then again, select this maybe, or you could just leave it and let's say grab this edge here all around, right up to here, and mark seam. Okay, and then we can try set another one here, maybe not so far, maybe somewhere here, mark seam, and then press L and D and add another one, and you'll see that they kind of, you know, you're gonna have some kind of overlapping a little bit, but you can very easily fix it by moving them. So what you could do is press D and then adjust and then G and X and simply move your trim sheet a little bit, right? But you have to be careful because when you move it too much, you will, you know, reveal some areas that actually adjacent to this trim sheet on the trim sheet. So you gotta be careful. You could scale this, or you could simply, you know, run another edge in here. You could also run panels with decal machine based on edges or edge flows. So you could use a knife and cut them the way you want and run panels. I have a video on panels, so look it up on my playlist, which is a playlist for decal machine, and I'll show there how to use panel tool with decal machine. So let's run this one here as well. This one I think is textured, so maybe not the best idea. Let's grab this one again. This one is great. Yeah, boom. And you got, you know, this seamless hull paneling, which is great. And you know, when you look from a distance, it's not eye-poking. It doesn't really, you know, it's not in your face detail, but it looks much more interesting than just this plain, you know, BSDF matte. This works especially well with the new textured one. So let me show you the textured one. Okay, so because like I said, all these trims come in two flavors. You got a textured one and non-textured one. So let me just show you the other one, which is which is textured. So let's just grab a mark seam here, grab another mark seam in here, and maybe that's too far. Here is good. And mark seam, and then press L, and let me show you the textured one. So let's go to trim 9, I think it's this one, and alt click, and boom. Now the textured one is really cool because I picked a really specific material for it. It's kind of like a buttered aluminium with kind of like, you know, tiny scratches, and it looks really like a worn out exterior of a ship. Cool thing about it is that when you combine these textured trim sheets together, you don't really need these sort of like a panel, the panel cuts in here. You can get, you know, you can go ahead and skip that step because the texturing actually takes care of it. And I'll show you. So if I select this one and I'm going to add the same one, right, and they're gonna just literally blend together, and you have to zoom really closely to see this you know, break, but from a distance you just can't tell, right? You're gonna have some kind of issues like this, but you can simply move your so let's mark seam, and let's mark seam here, right? And then let's select this one, and you can move it. So D, adjust G, X, and just move it a little bit, see here, and you're gonna have some overlapping with the trim that actually is adjacent, but you can make this segment smaller, you know, narrower like this maybe, right? And you should be fine. But again, you know, this transition here is literally seamless, you know, you can barely see it. But like I said, you could just create kind of like you know, cuts like here, so the hull is basically divided into segments. It really looks awesome, you know, in terms of design, and kind of breaks this monotony of this BSDF texture really nicely. It looks like a paneling of a hull, and also adds to the scale of this vessel. So the smaller the panels are, the bigger the vessel is gonna appear, right? So you can manipulate your scale with details. Basically, that's how it's done. So anyway, let me just fast forward this, and I'm going to, you know, sort of zip through it and time lapse to the end, so you can see how, you know, how this ship looks when it's finished. I think I might move this GG and move it a little bit here. So GG and move it here, GG and move it here too, and GG and move it here. I'm gonna rerun this strip here. So D and unwrap to empty, and then this one, boom, sorted. So there you go, that's how you solve problems. Anyway guys, I'm gonna go ahead and texture the whole vessel. Okay, so it's gonna be fun. Catch you in a few days, yeah.